Hi, welcome. My name is Dale McCluskey, and on this video I'd like to take a minute to discuss the whole issue of thunderstorms, how that can influence a dog's decision-making process, and why it's so problematic and difficult for so many people to fix and resolve this issue, especially considering that the majority of people who have trouble with their dog, how the dog reacts to thunderstorms, are already experiencing a misalignment, okay, within the context of the roles themselves and the pack relationship. Now, one of the issues here, and I show how a dog's decision-making process is influenced, how it reacts based on where you're standing in nature, and how a dog's decision-making process pivots within the context of the script that's being played, okay, within the roles, between the roles themselves. What happens when a dog is gaining power, and they're holding power within the relationship, okay? That not only represents a pushing beyond the boundary lines of the follower script, okay? And if you look at the laundry list of behavior issues that people are experiencing, and you think about the whole context of power and possessiveness, you'll start to connect those dots and see it more clearly. It represents a pushing out. So even a dog not coming back for the owner, not listening, they're objectifying. Okay, they're pushing beyond the boundary. So they'll still stay loosely within the pack relationship, but on the very edges of it. But the whole context too of how a dog's mind responds to thunderstorms it's related to how a dog's mind reacts. Okay, so basically what happens is a dog's mind, if you look at the context of how it responds in this issue of fear, it's a pulling inwards. Okay, it represents a type of a holding on, but it's like a camping out. It's like a holding on. So as the loud noise happens, okay, because of, and again, and this is related to stress too, so you want to know why they're pulling inwards. It's also part of how it's all packaged up through this empowering state, is that what happens is, because it's not naturalistic to the dog within the framework and setting of human connection, how the relational dynamics play out in the human setting. It's not naturalistic because the dog cannot fully naturally express that type of role through there, because what happens is the owner there's a confusing message being sent. The owner is controlling, okay, the dog's world at certain levels, but at the same time how they're connecting, how they're thinking, it's giving the dog power relationally, because their thinking is emotional. Okay, they're mirroring their emotions through the relationship. I show very clearly dogs are relational beings. They're able to get a snapshot, a very clear picture of how you think, how you're connecting, okay, and they're able to frame that up. And so, but because it's kind of like because they're taken outside, even though they share this connection, they're not with other dogs that way. They're not able to fully follow that. They're not in harmony with nature that way. Even though they share a connection with us, okay, because we're allowing them to become empowered relationally. Okay, it's very similar to a engine that's not running on all cylinders. Okay, it's a misfire. Okay, in my book Mind and Body Kinetics, I really lay it out and show the whole issue of stress, how the stress influences, it adds to the problem once a dog starts to gain power. So this pulling inwards, okay, within the context of this script, is also a result of this stress onto the dog. It's just like being the boss of a big company and dealing with personnel and human issues that way. Stress really can cause problems in the context of ourselves in the human world. I mean, stress is related to so many factors, but this same type of stress is coming on to the dog through this misalignment. So what happens is, as a loud noise, as a bang on here loudly, okay, it pulls back, because the dog is in this within the script itself. So what they're doing is this loud noise is somewhat it represents authority at a certain level because of the noise itself. Okay, the nature of that noise. So the thunder, the loud banging sound, represents a pulling back. Now the other issue with the stress, with this connection, the reason it will turn into this type of snowball is because at the relational level, dogs will get a sense of how that owner is thinking within not just what's established within the context of the relationship itself, like in a grade in the big picture of things, but within the moment itself too. So as the it influences how a dog thinks. It'll basically how you're thinking within that moment too will start to influence how the dog is going to start to react if you're becoming empowered. That's why you'll see if dogs already have power, and the owner can actually trigger a biting somebody else by becoming very uncertain. Okay, because that nervous energy, if the dog's already empowered through them, it'll elevate that state of mind up. So even in the context of storms, what will happen is we'll actually create these type of situations. We'll build on a problem that already exists because we've already allowed the dog to gain power in a relationship. So we'll start to see that reaction, and we'll build off that reaction. We'll start to become more uncertain, more fearful. Storms coming, you'll pick it up, you'll sense it, and the dog's picking it up. And the dog is also sensing how you're feeling about it, and it just keeps increasing. It's like a snowball going down the hill and just gaining momentum and gaining more snow. And before you know it, this is like this situation. You're buried in the avalanche, okay, and you're buried, and you don't know how to get out of it. And the problem with getting out of this, okay, this is really what adds to the whole problem. Is it's all about how people think, okay, in the context of what choices they're going to make to try to fix the problem. So people are overly emotional, and they're connecting to the dog that way, and they're projecting that. What happens is why people will go to the side of using like candles. You'll try to use a thunder shirt. If you watch my video, I put that in the context as to why it'll erode out fast based on the pressure from the shirt. How that's not, it gets washed up because it's not representing anything meaningful, but that the owner's actually changing how they're thinking. So no relational change actually happens. So you'll get what appears to be a result for just a period of time. Or if you do get results from that a little bit, it's because your thinking's changing. Okay, you're thinking that the thunder shirt is really a combination of that is changing how you think. So it's all psychology. So, but getting back to this whole pullback of the mind, the problem is the mind pulls back. It's creating this endless loop that people can't get out of. Because ultimately the solution to this is to bring the dog to change the script. There's some reverse things here that really challenge people through nature. Okay, it requires you to change totally, do a 360 to change totally how you think, and because you have to ultimately bring the dog under leadership. Because the follower role, by putting the dog into the follower role within the context of right relationship and being in harmony that way, it represents confidence. Okay, so what happens is the loud noise will happen, but because you're in harmony with nature, you brought the dog into a confident role. There's no stress on them. Okay, there's no misfire going on. Okay, that's when dogs connect with us. That's the right path to take. I mean, that's the happy path for the dog. So this loud noise coming down on the dog isn't going to cause the mind to pull in like that. Okay, you're not going to get that type of reaction. Okay, so again, the solution is you have to reverse this whole way of thinking and then start to bring the dog's mind under influence. Okay, but not just within the context of that problem, but then you have to lay out the framework to impact the dog's overall decision-making process. So you can't, when you have a problem in one area, it represents a problem throughout. Okay, that's the thing about how everything branches off off the role, all the behavior issues. So just some context, because again, it's all about how people think. They're going to taste the same Kool-Aid. Okay, with this ideology, I talk a lot about this learning-based ideology. People think they can teach and learn their way out of this stuff by using treats and different things. You're going to fail. Okay, that's not the solution. Okay, and that's why when you go into these websites, you're going to these discussion forums, and you look at the conversations of people struggling with those issues, and you put one and one together, you're going to see common patterns. Like that's one of the big issues that those who adopt this way of thinking, one of the problems they have is stress, what's called fear aggression, stress, anxiety, because that's a result of that way of thinking. Because once a dog starts to gain power, it's a huge stress on dogs, even at the puppy stage. I mean, you'll see puppies that, even the fact that they're at such a level that even the thought that someone could bring them under influence, they start to even, like you'll hear a dog screaming before you even touch them. You'll say, why is the dog freaking out like that? I haven't even touched the dog. Because that dog is at such a level that, just like the narcissist that starts to retreat in their own world, they don't want anyone to challenge their false narrative. Okay, it's the same type of thing. The dog will start camping out in its own mind, so it's like they're cowering down. So again, this is one of the issues that's so difficult for people. But the solution is, and you go into my website, this is one area that if you need help with your dog, it's definitely you can fix it. It's just a matter of thinking rightly and then getting that foundation going. So I would just encourage you to check out my website. I have lots of training options there. If you're suffering from your dog's fearful of thunder and storms and stress and all these things are going on, and you're like in this loop and you're tasting the same Kool-Aid, I would encourage you to check out my website. I mean, how I do training is based on a very unique, one-of-a-kind relational model, and it's designed to change out the very core of the relationship. Okay, so it's meant to bring the dog into relational harmony, bring the dog into the follower script, which represents a happy, balanced state. And so what happens is, not only does the dog get their needs met, because that's the whole goal here is to bring, but you'll also get your needs met as well. But this whole, reconciling how people are connecting, that's critical. So it's about getting you to think differently, understand that love is more than just self, okay, because generally people really don't like what I'm saying, because I challenge the real motives about how people are connecting to their dogs. I mean, people need to be honest about it and stop trying to frame this all up as though, influence and changing the dog at the relational level of leadership is a bad, terrible thing, just like parenting. I mean, but you're going to get a group that's going to do that. But the problem is emotion is so powerful here. I mean, emotion is the thing that really gets people into trouble, because you have to apply objective, critical thinking and be objective enough to step back and look at what I show, because I show very clearly, I show very open and transparent, and but the solution is to think rightly, and you have to understand that dogs are relational beings. That is, the glue that holds it all together with influencing how they think. It's at the relational level, and I show that everything else is secondary. In fact, the things that people use, I talk about treats and stuff like that all the time. Those things are not helpful based on changing how people think. So, and when change does happen, there's half truth there. So, it's people get focused on the wrong thing. It's about the relationship. Okay, it's about what that represents with how people are thinking, how they're connecting with the dog. So, again, I encourage you to check out my website. I have lots of great training options, lots of videos to help you kind of get a sense of what I'm talking about. But again, if you're having trouble with storms and issues like that with stress, you can contact me anytime. I'm more than happy to answer your questions. Thanks very much.